Hi, and welcome to Bloody Good Reads. I'm your host, Mark Goddard, and we're back on the crime train again with this week's author. This week on the podcast, we have the creator of the amazing Kate Daniels series, the amazing Ryan O'Neill series, and the amazing Stone It All Over book, which the fourth entry is coming out later this month on June 22nd. Welcome to the podcast this week, Mari Hannah.
Hi, lovely to see you.
So what we like to do here on Bloody Good Reads is force authors to pick 3 books that they love, because I like to set a challenge. But before we get into the new book and how you got into writing the whole series, and 3 series, it's a lot of series in one. So, yeah. What I'd like to ask every guest is, how did you get into the crime genre?
Well, first of all, I love reading crime and always have. But I was a probation officer before I was a writer. Assaulted at work one day. I went to work and thought I would come home in the same state, and I didn't. So after a couple of years of in and out of hospital operations and one thing and another, the probation service let me go on a early pension, on a sickness pension, I suppose you would call it. And then I wondered, what on earth am I going to do? And obviously the thing that I knew most about was crime, prisons, offenders, police. And my partner is also an ex-DI on a murder squad, so that helps. I don't have to go very far for my research. So that's kind of how it came about, really. It wasn't something that I've dreamed about since I was a child. I just, it was an assault. It happened. And then I thought, well, I don't want to be a victim. I need to do something else. What would that be? And I started writing a very short story. That turned into looking around to see what kind of writing I wanted to do. I did screenwriting for a while, got on a couple of courses, one with the BBC. And then I adapted something that I had worked with them into my first book, which was The Murder Wall, which was the first Kate Daniels book.
Awesome. It's it's not a nice way to get into it. That's quite a dark story of getting into. But you've made 3 really amazing series as well. So you must enjoy doing it after kind of writing your first short story and wanting to continue on.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely had no clue what I was doing when I started. And, even though I was a big reader, I just couldn't get off the ground. And it took a very long time to find an agent and almost as long to find a publisher. But once I had an editor behind me and I had lots of wonderful, feedback about the writing, and they knew that I knew the world that I was writing about, which was great. And eventually someone took me, Pan Macmillan, took me and offered me a 3-book deal. And I'm writing my 15th novel at the moment.
Bloody 15.
I used to be one of those writers who used to walk into a shop and see somebody, really big famous author who had like a whole shelf full of books. And I had one, and I never ever thought that I would get this far. And it's been an amazing journey. I've thoroughly enjoyed every minute. Hard work, but I have had fun.
So what was your reading habits then? What was the type of authors that you enjoyed reading in the crime genre?
Well, Michael Connelly is my absolute favourite, and his is one of the books that you'll probably ask me about later. But I absolutely adore his writing. It was the authenticity of the writing, because obviously he comes from a background where he's been a journalist dealing with crime, and that was the bar for me. That was a very high bar, I have to say. But yes, I'm not one that sort of started with Agatha Christie when I was a kid or anything like that. Just picked up books that really appealed to me when I was in the library or in a bookshop.
Let's segue in. So, like I said at the start of the podcast, what we like to do with authors is make them pick 3 books that they love. One of the hardest things to do as an author, I know. But what is your first bloody good read you brought along today?
The first one is Desert Star by Michael Connelly, but I could have chosen any of his books. I've been following his work since his debut in 1992, The Black Echo, and he's created some of the most iconic characters, and he never fails to deliver. Desert Star features LAPD detectives Rennie Ballard and Harry Bosch, famously Harry Bosch, working in a cold case unit. Connolly is a master storyteller, the best in the world, in my opinion, and has a few series on the go, like I do. So I think that was the reason why, one of the reasons why I do write a different series. And if anybody's seen the Bosch Legacy TV series, it is absolutely excellent on Amazon Prime Video. So that's the very first one.
Okay, cool. Good pick. Really good pick. I think we've had some of his work on previously as well, so it's nice to get some more Michael Connolly on here. So.
Well, I was really, really chuffed because when during the pandemic, when nobody could go to any festival events, I was asked if I would like to interview Michael Connolly online, and I was like, "What? This is like I've gone from like a big reader of his, big fangirl to, oh my God, I'm going to be actually talking to God." You know, it was an amazing experience, and he is published by Orion, who I am now published by as well. So that's why I got asked, I think, and because I'm a big fan.
It's always nice when you're a fan of their work as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Brilliant. So let's get into, obviously we know how you got into writing. So where did the idea for the first book come around?
Well, before I left work, I was a Crown Court liaison officer, and one of my jobs was to go into the cells when people were sentenced. And if you go into the cells and somebody has 6 years, you can talk to them about, well, you know, keep your nose clean, and you know, you might get out in 4 or what have you. But if it's a lifer who's spending 30 years in prison, it's not so. You can imagine what it's like going in and speaking to somebody like that. And I got the idea after I'd finished work. I thought, really, and I have worked in prison, so I know that, you know, it's not an easy place to be. And I wondered, if somebody went into prison and their family completely disowned them and they didn't have anyone, what would that do to them psychologically? And so the Murder Wall was born, and it is about a serial killer who comes out seeking revenge against his family and members of his family and their friends. And so that was kind of where it came from, really.
Okay. And that's the Kate Daniels series, which has gone.
It is.
Last book was 2021. There's quite a few books in that series. So,
yeah.
Was you always planning on doing a complete series with her, or was you going to do, because you got a 3-book deal? Was you looking to do 3
Mark, I actually only thought I would write 1 book when I started. It just so happened that while I was waiting to be published and while I was waiting to find an agent, I decided to write a second. And I won an award for the second book while the first book was on the desk of a commissioning editor.
Okay.
And so it was a brilliant sort of, just a moment when you think, oh God, you've got to have a little bit of luck, haven't you? So that was brilliant, because I was able to, I approached him at Harrogate Crime Writing Festival, which is the biggest festival in the world. And I introduced myself, and, he knew about the award, and, he'd enjoyed the book. And we got on really well, and that was the start of the journey, really.
And multiple books as well in that series, which is amazing. Then was it 2015 that you went on to your second series, which is Ryan and O'Neill?
Well, first of all, yes. The Silent Room was supposed to be a one-off. There was no others planned. It was a sort of self-contained story. I didn't think it would go anywhere, but my American publisher liked it so much that they asked for another, so I had to write another, and I had to do it quickly. So that series is stopped at 2 at the moment. I'd like to write more. Readers want me to write more, but so that kind of was as far as I went with that. But after book 6 in the Kate Daniels series, I decided that I would change publisher, and I had an interview with Orion, and then we got on really well, and they said, well, why don't you go away and write a synopsis and send it to us and we'll see. So I went away and I did 3 synopses, hoping they would like one of them. And then they came back to me and said, we'd love all of these and we'd like to publish them all and we'd like them in this order. Okay. So that was it. Because I was worried at the time. I was really worried that I would be leaving Kate Daniels behind, and she was my lifeblood. I mean, she'd already won many awards. And they said, no, we will publish Kate, but we want you to get your feet under the table with a new series. And I said, well, kind of, what would you like? What kind of thing would you like me to do? And they said, well, bear in mind, Kate Daniels is Kate Daniels on her own, although she does have a sidekick called Hank, who is absolutely great. They wanted me to write a detective duo, so I conjured up 2 characters. Frankie Oliver is a 3rd-generation cop, and David Stone is a combination, and this is going to sound really strange, of a guy who has been writing to me from Australia since the first Kate Daniels book came out. He's an expat from this area, and said books took him home. And he was hilarious. All of his emails are really funny. And you can tell, though, even though he jokes and one thing and another, that he gets very homesick. And he only gets home, I think, once every couple of years. So his name is David. Not David Stone, but his name is David. And I didn't want my David, to have... I wanted him to have a surname that wasn't like his personality, so I called him Stone, because it actually is not a hard man. He's very thoughtful and very, he's a great character, and I love writing him. He's very, considered. So that was kind of how he came about. And I'd said to this guy in Australia, do you mind if I lift some of the comedy in your emails? And he said, what? I would love that. Of course, he was over the moon. And I was at Waterstones in Newcastle, bringing, I think, the 2nd book out. And I happened to tell them the tale that I've just told you. And this guy put his hand up at the back and he said, you're really embarrassing me, Mari. And it was him. And I went, is it you? And he said, it is. And he didn't have to, he was running somewhere, he was meeting somebody. We didn't have time to sit down and have a drink, although I really feel like I know him. He was off with his sister somewhere. And he said, I'm coming to your event on Thursday. It's okay, we'll have a drink after that. But he then fell and broke his leg, or he injured his leg quite badly. So he didn't arrive there. So I still haven't had that drink with David. But I promise you I will one day. Next time he's home, maybe.
And it's nice as well to get a fan in the book as well. It's a nice way of doing it.
Yeah.
So before we get into that series and obviously the brand new book, what have you brought along as your second bloody good read?
It's another American novel. It's called The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. This one is set in small town America. It's a character-driven emotional drama, kind of stroke psychological suspense, and a standalone this time. It's really powerful, really chilling. It should come with a health warning, honestly. The plot concerns a past crime, the murder of a woman, which tore her family apart almost 30 years before. It's bloody in places and therefore not for the faint-hearted, as most of Karen's books are. You may need to hide behind the sofa for this one.
And she is a legend.
Although maybe not, because you have lots of horror on yours. So maybe your people who are listening won't hide behind the sofa. They'll love it.
Oh, we still hide behind the sofa. We still get scared. Brilliant. And she's a legend in the crime genre as well.
Absolutely.
She's one of the biggest names out there. So amazing choice. Amazing choice. Hi guys, thank you for listening to the podcast so far. Just wanted to share with you a quick trailer for the upcoming horror film, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's hitting cinemas on October 27th from Universal Pictures, and it's based on the best-selling video game. So if you haven't heard of the game before or haven't played the game, the film follows a troubled security guard as he begins working at Freddy's Fazbear's Pizza. I probably haven't pronounced that right. While spending his first night on the job, he realizes that the night shift at Freddy's won't be easy to make through. And also using animatronics from the world famous Jim Henson's Creature Shop as well. And is from the producers of films like Megan, The Black Phone, and The Invisible Man. So some great people behind this movie. So have a quick listen to the trailer, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
Hi, this is Mike. I was just calling to see if that job that you offered was still available.
Yes. The security guard.
I will take anything.
This place was huge in the 80s with the kids. They shut it down years ago. The owner's just not ready to let it go yet.
I will work and you will sleep.
I understand.
Give me your hand.
All you have to do is keep your eyes on the monitor.
Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's, where fantasy and fun come to life.
Okay.
You must be new security guard.
Can I help you, officer?
Have you met them yet?
Met who?
Them. In the 80s, kids went missing. The police searched Freddy's top to bottom.
Hello?
They never found them. That's why the place shut down.
There are ghost children possessing giant robots. Thanks for the heads up.
Technically, they're animatronics.
What do they want?
They want to make her like them.
Pappy! Tell me how to stop them.
It's too late.
Pappy, go!
Where to? Why do I always get the weirdos?
So let's get into your Stone and Oliver series. So the first book, The Lost. Can you tell us a little bit about the first book, and we'll go into kind of the new book and whereabouts we are in the story, without spoiling too much.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about The Lost was that I was getting to know Stone and Oliver at the same time as they were getting to know each other. So if you go back to the Kate Daniels series, Kate was already established. Her and Hank have been working together for a very long time. But in The Lost, we're meeting two characters are meeting, which is Stone and Oliver. David Stone has come back from the Metropolitan Police, where he's been for 15 years. He's got a big cloud hanging over him. He's got a dark background, and he's arrived back in the Northeast, and he has taken a demotion to come home. And Frankie Oliver is in the CID, and he becomes her boss, and they are investigating a boy that has gone missing at the beginning of the book.
Okay.
But it turns out to be a lot more than that.
Well, as always is. Okay. So it was the 3 Stone Oliver books that you wrote in the concession, and you obviously went back to Kate Daniels with Without a Trace. So now...
Yes, and that was 3 years after I had left them on a cliffhanger.
Oh, so that's even worse.
Yeah, I know. As some very clever journalist said, cliffhanger. So that was a good way to put it. But yes, there'd been 3 years gap, and they were screaming for the resolution of this cliffhanger, and so I knew exactly which book I was going to write, and that was Without a Trace, and that was an award-winning book, and I was so chuffed because during lockdown, Capital Crime Festival chose it as their book of the year, which was me. The only good news I had that year, but yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was a strange couple of years then as well. So
yeah.
Then you had Her Last Request, which is 2021, which is the last entry into the Kate Daniels series. So that brings us up to Blackfell, which is coming out 22nd of June. I have it right next to me on my desk. I was reading it a little bit of it this morning in the extremely baking hot British sun. So tell us a little bit about the brand new book and whereabouts we are, without spoiling too much in the story of Stone and Oliver.
Well, my logline is Northumberland's dark sky meets the land of the midnight sun, because Blackfell opens at Kielder Water in Northumberland, which is quite close to me. A landscape that is beautiful and serene in the daytime, but quite dark and scary at night, where nobody can hear you scream. And so we open the book that we're with a guy who is on his own in a forest of a million trees, and he is high on drugs. You know, he's had drink. He's obviously got a problem, and without spoiling too much, it's a very scary scene. But then we switch to the shore of Kielder Water, where Icelandic students are camping illegally. And at dawn, one of them goes in for a swim. His name is Christian. And his girlfriend is Eva. And they drag this barrel from the water and break it open. And there are skeletal remains inside. So that's how the book opens. And I really enjoyed writing this book because I was able to bring in all sorts of historical elements. For those of your listeners who don't know, Kielder Water is a man-made reservoir, and it basically drowned the village called Plachettes when they put the water in. And so this whole story becomes a real journalist's thing, and everybody arrives from all over the way, pointing cameras, setting up caravans and one thing another, making it very difficult for Stone and Oliver to cope with. But there's a little twist there, because obviously the bones are far too old for them to have killed the person inside. And they're let go, but have the police jumped too quickly? It's a question, because as soon as they've gone, there's another body found, and this one has skin.
So that obviously
I'm going to leave that there.
Well, it put me on the edge of my seat, so even better. It's a great opening act. So I try and read the first couple of chapters where I can, because I have so many authors on it every week. Don't have enough time to read everything.
I can imagine. I know how you're feeling.
I'm a slow reader is the best of times, but I do love the opening of this book.
Thank you.
No, the setting, especially with Iceland being in a part of that as well. Icelandic crime, obviously, a huge thing at the moment as well now.
Well, that's the thing about that book, because it does have it has a little bit of history, but it also has a kind of real feeling of Scandinois as you make your way through. Because they travel obviously to find these students, and they travel in Iceland too. So that's been a brilliant thing to explore. And these are two places that are very close to my heart. I've been to Iceland Noir a few times. I love Iceland. It's just amazing. So I was able to bring that in. So that was good.
Brilliant. Amazing. So that is Blackfell, and that is out June 22nd in the UK. Link in the description below, as always, to go and check out a copy of the book and go and check out the series from the start as well. So, before we leave, I have to ask, what is your third and final bloody good read?
Well, this time we're going British, and it's called London Rules by Mick Herron. What I've said, I've written a little note here. Allow the dawn to show you around Slough House, the dumping ground for MI5 agents who've messed up. Genius. One of the best openings I've ever read. London Rules was mid-series, but I was so taken with the main character, Jackson Lamb, that I went back and read the rest. Mick is a wonderful writer with the wickedest sense of humour. His books have been adapted for Apple TV, and the series is actually called Slow Horses, starring Gary Oldman. Not to be missed, I think.
And it's Gary Oldman. You can't beat Gary Oldman, can you, really?
No, he's brilliant at this. He's brilliant in this.
So did you go back and start the series from scratch after reading this one? Yeah. This is what I did with Mark Billingham.
There's quite a few, and I mean, he's won many awards, Mick, and he is an absolute brilliant writer. And as I say, the humour is great, and I love a bit of humour. It kind of lightens the darkness, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. And British crime can be very dark. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Brilliant choices there. Some free bloody good reads. And yeah, some amazing books for all of you to go and check out as well. Free series. Just jump in now. You won't miss out. So what are you working on next?
At the moment, well, I've written another Kate Daniels number 9 in the Kate Daniels series.
Brilliant.
And that has already been edited and gone off, and that doesn't come out till January. But I am 2/3 of the way through the new Stone and Oliver series, which is called A Truth More Painful Than Murder. At the moment, because obviously titles change sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I'm 2/3 of the way through, and the good thing about it is that as I work through the series, and I never know, people say, what is your arc and where will it finish? I never know when I start a series where I'm going to finish, if I'm going to finish, because if people won't like them and love them, then why would I finish? So I have been choreographing through the first 4 books to get to the point where I am now. And this tells, without telling you anything, this will resolve Frankie's dark secret. So there were reasons why I had to separate these two. In the Black Fell, talking about Northumberland and Iceland, and also in this book, for reasons I won't go into because it would be real spoiler.
Okay, brilliant. So that's 2 brand new amazing books coming very soon. So January, hopefully, we'll see the new Kate Daniels as well. So brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast this week. Where can people find you if you'd like to be found? I
am on marihanna.com. That's my web. So all of my my events and all my news is on there. And I'm on Twitter at Mari Writer. Mari Writer.
That's brilliant. Go out and check out Mari Hanna's brand new book coming out 22nd of June. So that'll be this week if I got my podcast releases right. And as always, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Blumhouse Book Club. They are the UK's best UK horror and thriller book box service, bringing the wonders of a haunted bookshop straight to your door each month. You can either go for the Full Guts box, which is a brand new book, a possibly haunted second-hand book, and either a indie title, magazine, or along them lines. There's some great crime novels in there as well. Matt Weverlowski is a huge crime writer for me.
And a big friend, actually. I love Matt.
Matt's books are amazing. It's because of Deity that I fell in love with his books, and I've been collecting them ever since. So I'm one away now.
Have you had him on?
I've had him on before. Yeah, had to get him on. Deity was such an amazing book.
Absolutely great.
But he'd been in Bookbox before. We've also had some Peter James in our second-hand pre-loved books as well. So go and check it out if you do love a bit of crime and a bit of horror. There's a lot of mixture in there. So go check that out. And you can use the code BloodyGoodReads at checkout. Get 10% off your box as well. And also you can just get the books on its own, which is a bare bones box, which a little bit cheaper, but you still do get 10% off with the code as well. Links in the description below. You know it by now if you listen to the podcast. They've been promoting us, and we've been promoting them for the last 3 years, so go check it out. You can also catch me over on Twitter at BloodyGoodReads. You can catch me over on Instagram at BloodyGoodReads, and go and check out all of our movie and book reviews on the website, which is bloodygoodreads.co.uk, and also catch our film podcast as well. It's myself, Niall, Chloe, and Marcus, and at the moment, Hunter Shea, going through movies to find out what is a bloody good screen. We're doing Alien and Predator in the next month, and I think you all know by now we're doing Cocaine Shark and Grand Budapest Hotel, and the next one coming up at the end of June. So go and check them both out, and go and check out our previous episode with Bomani Story. Great interview of him as well, and we did a great review of that one as well. Brilliant film, go check it out. So as always, I have been your host, Mark Goddard, and I'll see you next time.